Hello there, and welcome back to our Healing Life series. We're working our way through how to create core resilience, the equilibrium we establish through what we do and how we live, of body, mind, and spirit to support our highest light and life and possibilities. Now, in the last video, we practiced balance, which we defined as that core strength of our innate impulse to heal, the law of all nature, what sustains us in the face of life's many challenges and can literally catapult us on a healing trajectory when we claim the law as our own and really work it to our own advantage. Balance is a lot of freaking work. So guess what? It's now time to rest, and that's where we're going today. All things restoration. Now, let's be honest here. Rest is far from passive. It's a lot of work too. I would suggest to you that in our culture, for the vast majority of us, rest and restoration are the hardest of all self-care. That nothing challenges us more than to stop, get quiet, lay our heads down, let go, and do nothing. And I'm speaking to you as a recovering, full-on achiever who finally learned that my true life's purpose is more about being than doing, and that everything I do that represents the most authentic divine me arises from the being. Now, what on earth does being an achiever have to do with rest and restoration? Well, as many of you know yourselves, it's an insidious and at times devastating relationship. How our success and achievement behavior can hijack our need for sleep, rest, pause, play, fun, downtime, creative expression, and so on. And the most devastating is how our success and achievement trajectories hijack our ability to be present, to be aware, to deeply attune to ourselves, to attune to others, to truly listen and be receptive, and to not over-identify with all our doing, right? And even those of us who teach these things and practice presence every day in our various ways may do so in ways defined by our cultural notions of success and achievement, more doing. But what's the crux of this? I think it comes down to feeling worthy. And that's what I believe is at stake here as we discuss why we neglect sleep, rest, play, and our precious downtime. And that's why we can't discuss restorative practices without also touching on what gets in our way, right? We know, most of us here listening, that we need the restoration and healing of consistently excellent sleep, time to rest during the day, playtime, putter time, creative time, downtime, quiet time. And the science on all this is so deep, we know we can't bypass these without huge consequences to health and well-being. But many of us do it anyway, right? And I've certainly been guilty of this. We persist in neglecting our restoration time, even when we feel tired, run down, burned out, depleted, lost. In fact, maybe we work harder to find ourselves again, instead of taking pause and listening. Or we live in a loop of overwork and achievement that's interspersed with retreats to revive and rest. And I'm not saying retreats are a bad thing. In this context, they're actually great. What I'm saying is we wouldn't need to crash land in our vacations or live from retreat to retreat if we made space for quiet presence and restoration in our daily lives. We wouldn't need to use them to bypass the sources of our fatigue and unhappiness and lack of fulfillment with our daily lives. So here's what we'll unpack today. What does the science show us about the benefits of sleep and restorative practices? What are the cultural narratives that we internalize that drive us away from receiving the benefits of sleep and our restorative practices? And then we'll stop for a practice for attuning to the discomfort we feel when faced with getting quiet and doing nothing, which I submit to you right now is the path to our deepest healing. So first, the science. Now, we can look at this purely from the perspective of the body. There are enormous health benefits to receiving optimal sleep, rest, play, and downtime. The science is clear and deep. What do we get through the shifting of genetic expression and biological function that occurs through optimizing sleep, rest, and restorative practices? We unravel years of suffering. Lack of sleep and rest will absolutely keep any one of us stuck in chronic illness, fatigue, depression, and a multitude of miseries. And I work with this in my clients every day. Often, restoring sleep and rest is the only thing we need to do to completely reverse chronic illness and unleash vibrant new energy. So, what are the benefits in a brief nutshell? We get more energy through enhanced energy production and conservation, vast anti-aging effects leading to longer and higher quality lives, reduction in inflammation and support of immune function, improvement in brain and cognitive function and performance, repair and healing of all aspects of the body structure and function, balancing of the hormones of stress, energy, and reproduction, detoxification and cleansing of the brain as well as the entire body, accelerated loss of excessive body fat, improvement of blood sugar regulation, our toxin number one, support of mood and well-being, improvement of memory consolidation and learning, and we get dreams, which support learning, insight, and personal growth, to literally name just a few. And since we're integrated beings, body, mind, spirit, we can also look at this from the perspective of the spirit, the health and evolution of our conscious awareness, presence, and ability to hold ourselves, others, the world around us with deep attunement and compassion is so deeply enhanced by our restorative practices. The incredible health benefits of sleep and restorative practices energize, revive, and elevate our spiritual conscious awareness. So if that's what's important to you, start with the body. And it just makes sense, right? The equilibrium of energy, good health, and well-being serves our vibrant wholeness. So with the science so clear about the healing benefits of sleep, rest, play, and downtime of all our restorative practices, why do so many of us struggle here? There are cultural, tribal, and familial narratives that define what makes us worthy and successful that get in our way. Now, these may be entirely unconscious, but are operating to drive our intentions and actions in ways that move us away from these essential aspects of self-care. First, consider this foundational attribute of the human brain. We're storytelling creatures. This is how our brains package all the incoming data of our lives. We call these stories beliefs, how things are, how things have always been, what we know, right? We identify with them. They become our reality in how we understand ourselves, others, and the world. But if we're perfectly truthful, and if we step back and see ourselves as operating in this way, and having brains designed to tell stories and lock into those stories to keep us alive, then we gain a perspective that can allow us to heal from where we've been stuck. Our brains are designed to size things up rapidly to keep us alive. Is that rustling in the grass a tiger that's ready to pounce on us and our children? Or is it just a lovely breeze? Is that stranger walking up our driveway coming to harm us? Or are they a future friend? See, stories keep us alive. And the more we've been hurt, and the more we've suffered, and the more our ancestors have been hurt and have suffered because we carry the signature of this ancestral experience in our own genes, the more likely we are to dive straight for the worst case scenario. Okay, so given this storytelling nature of our brains and bias toward the most negative interpretation of the facts of our lives, what happens? when we're marinated in strong, pervasive cultural narratives passed on to us from our parents, our tribes, our schools, all the institutions that teach us and powerfully influence our notions of the truth and of our reality, churches, centers of medicine, politics, and so on, that often judge us on the basis of such stories, that judge our value, our success, our rightness. That's right. What happens to us is we learn the facts, the truth, the way things are, that really aren't the facts, the truth, or the way things are. You follow me? They're all narratives, many of great value, but some incredibly dangerous and disempowering to ourselves and others. The key to our healing is to see this and begin to allow other possibilities and interpretations to flow into our consciousness. Yeah, that's when we really start to heal. That's when the glue of our minds begins to loosen and we get ourselves unstuck. The more trauma-based our beliefs are, especially those that define our worthiness and success, the harder they are to loosen and see with clarity. They come in with powerful emotions because those beliefs kept us alive at one time or kept our ancestors alive, but they no longer serve, and we have to learn that. To heal, we have to know that. One of the most powerful cultural narratives of the 20th century, still alive and operating today, though largely debunked by 21st century science, is the narrative about genetic determinism, that we literally are our genes, that our book of life was pre-written, inherited from our parents, locking us into a very specific trajectory that says we are our parents and grandparents. What happened to them will happen to us. And as enlightened as we may become about our potential for change, most of us still look carefully at our parents and our grandparents for clues to our future, right? But what do we know now? What does the 21st century science of epigenetics, neuroplasticity, core functional medicine systems biology, and transformational psychology, huge bodies of science, tell us about our reality and our futures? Our future is not set in stone. It's quite fluid and ripe with possibilities. Our genes change their expression depending on the environment. Every single aspect of the environment in which our genes are swimming within our bodies causes a shift in how those genes are expressed to determine our every outcome, structure, and function, everything. Our brains can change, they grow, they increase connections, they alter the milieu of hormones and neuropeptides and all the communication molecules within our brains that make us us. Our brains can heal. And our minds and beliefs and notions and stories can all change to support us better. And the most powerful part of this 21st century science, all this powerful potential we're packed with, is largely in our hands. That's right. Our genes don't determine our destiny. Our parents and grandparents, even our culture, don't determine our destiny. We do. And we can personally direct our genetic expression and all our outcomes to our own advantage. And that's powerful. And it's also scary. It calls us to accept all kinds of responsibility, all kinds of pain, all kinds of humility. Don't I know? Rule number one of healing from our pasts, healing from our old worn out stories, and healing from our trauma is a simple fact. And here's where the rubber meets the road when it comes to trying to slow down and listen and rest. We have to feel it all. We can't bypass our feelings in the process of change. and change will bring us the feelings. As one of my mentors says, we can't yoga the hell out of them or pray the hell out of them. We have to live them, feel them, embody them, hold ourselves with love and truth and compassion. This is our call. This call asks us to feel all the feelings. And here's how this circles back to sleep and restorative practices. Because for this, we must stop, get quiet, let go and rest, listen, breathe, hold ourselves, hold on for dear life sometimes. Stay relentlessly curious, becoming our compassionate observers and change makers, owning our genetic legacy to heal. This is how we heal. And this takes practice. Like all worthwhile things, we have to get our reps in, put in our practice time. So, without further ado, let's practice together right now. Let's switch into practice mode. And let me start by asking you this. What if we understood ourselves as the most sacred of beings, and that we honor this sacredness the most by creating space for it? That what makes us sacred are feelings, intelligence, intuition, wholeness, creative genius, visionary perspectives, healing impulses, and the capacity for deep holding and attunement of ourselves and others emerges into our consciousness when we create space for it. When there's enough quiet, space, and doing nothing to allow us to see it all and experience it. Now, if you're like me, the words doing nothing bring up anxiety right away. And I've had to work hard at this. And it's been my life's work for years, because passion and curiosity can spill over into excessiveness, right? Too much doing and not enough space to stay in close contact with all that makes me sacred. And not that I always do nothing, but I'm learning to do more nothing, to stop, to be quiet, to rest, to listen, to be more present, to feel what there is to feel, to honor my wholeness. I see it as what I must do to be my whole, true, authentic self. And I also see it as my activism against a culture that would define my worth based on what I produce, or how many people are paying attention to what I do, or the accolades I receive for what I do. I reject that. This practice is also how I'm sure to come up close to the trauma and the tender feelings that most need my awareness, attention, and fierce holding and compassion. To heal, we must feel. To rest and restore, we can't help but feel. So for the next few minutes, let's stop whatever we're doing, get quiet, and rest together. And as we rest, let's allow and hold whatever sensations or feelings arise for us. And nothing's wrong here. I invite you to take a comfortable seat, making any movements that you might need to really settle in. Allow your eyes to gently close, your hands to fall gently in your lap, your feet to meet the ground beneath you, so gently. Not doing anything in particular. Allow yourself to settle in, allow yourself to rest, and do nothing. Letting go of your day so far, letting go of your plans, letting go of your concerns or worries, and just be here, resting in this moment. And I invite you to notice your breath, not changing it in any way, just noticing, being your witness. How cool your breath feels as it enters your nostrils. How your chest rises and falls. How your belly expands and contracts. Notice this rhythm. Sense how this beautiful energy of life takes up space within you and through you. How this beautiful energy is you. As you continue to breathe, allow yourself to soften. Let your jaw soften. Your shoulders and back soften. Your belly and hips and pelvis soften. Let your legs soften, settling even more deeply. Allow your skin to soften. And see if you can let your mind soften. Let it all go. Rest right here in your body, in this moment, fully supported by your breath, your chair, and the ground beneath you. Notice if there's anything in your body calling out for attention, any pain, discomfort, tightness, anxiety, judgment. Whatever is there, see if you can welcome it without trying to fix it. Everything is welcome here. Send your breath wherever the sensation arises. Breathe space around it. Be curious about it. Allowing anything that arises, holding it with curiosity and compassion. I invite you to allow yourself to just be, to allow all your feelings and sensations to be, without trying to fix, control, judge, or silence. Just allow and hold everything. Taking a few more deep breaths in and out, breathing in life force energy, breathing out all effort, letting go, letting it all be. As you continue to observe and hold, notice how things may have shifted inside you. Notice the release of tightness. Notice any spaciousness or freedom. Notice any rising discomfort or anxiety. Welcoming everything. This may be subtle. Perhaps the shift is in your quiet, welcoming presence to the sensations and feelings. Take this all in. You, soft, resting, no agenda, just noticing. Allowing yourself to be exactly as you are, welcoming all sensations and feelings. And when you're ready, gradually notice the room around you, taking in any sounds, vibrations, smells. Feel the room. Gently open your eyes when you're ready, if you haven't already. See the room around you and let the room see you, and welcome back. I want you to remember how this feels, this peaceful flow state of allowing and just being, of being at rest. And this can be yours in just minutes. This is how rest connects you to your authenticity. And I hope you got a sense of how rest and restoration are not passive. They're silent, slow, often unmoving. And when we sleep and sit in rest or meditation, we look like we're doing nothing. But nothing is further from the truth. Sleep and rest and quietly doing nothing are incredibly dynamic. More so than being on the move, multitasking, being constantly in motion, never sitting down, having a persistently full schedule. These are distractions from what's the most real, dynamic, and sacred about us. So each time you practice, it's like any practice. You're getting your reps in, your hours. And with each rep and hour, you're stronger, more developed, more conscious, freer. Baby steps, right? Start with 5 minutes per day, just like we did. Work your way farther very gradually. Use this practice in some variation of your own when you're walking in the woods or doing your chores or walking your dogs. The key is to welcome whatever comes up and guide yourself to allow it, to stay curious about it all. It doesn't matter how you get there. Okay, it's been my enormous pleasure an honor to be with you today. As always, I look forward to working with you more on this and the other components of core resilience. I'd love to hear from you. What do you need? Where would you like to go from here? What's working? What's not? I leave you in great gratitude. Take care.